The hangar of the Coalition warship Starbound Resolve trembled softly as engines cooled and the echoes of battle still clung to the air like smoke. Among the wounded and the weary stood Carvel, an alien war hero whose armored frame bore the scars of 100 campaigns. His species revered honor and clarity in battle. Yet tonight his many eyes reflected something darker, something unsettled. Across from him sat Irix, a younger fighter, recently blooded in the war against the devouring swarm. Still believing that courage alone defined victory, Irix watched Carvel in silence, noticing how the veteran's hands trembled not with fear, but with memory. "You fought alongside humans today," Irix finally said, his voice filled with curiosity and pride. "They are impressive allies." Carvel did not respond immediately. Instead he stared at the distant stars beyond the hangar shield. "Yes," he said at last. "Impressive is one word." Irix leaned forward, eager, believing he would hear tales of glorious charges and heroic sacrifices. Instead, Carvel's tone grew low and heavy. "They fight as if war is already inside them." The young fighter laughed softly, thinking it a compliment. "That is good, is it not?" Carvel turned, all his eyes locking onto Irix. "It is terrifying." The laughter faded, replaced by confusion. Carvel gestured for Irix to sit closer, and despite himself, the younger warrior obeyed. "You see, humans do not enter war to test themselves," Carvel said. "They enter war to end it, no matter the cost." Around them, other soldiers drifted away. Sensing the weight in the veteran's voice, Carvel inhaled slowly. "A ritual learned after fighting beside human units. They told me stories while we waited for the swarm to break through the outer ring." "Stories?" Irix echoed, puzzled. "Yes," Carvel replied. "Stories of their own past wars." The hangar lights dimmed slightly as the ship shifted course, and the moment felt sealed away from time. "What could stories do to frighten you?" Irix asked, struggling to imagine words more dangerous. "Then weapons." Carvel's mandibles tightened. Because their stories were not told with pride, they were told as warnings. And with that, the war hero began to speak of humanity, and the silence around them deepened. Carvel described the night before the battle, when humans sat calmly cleaning their weapons. There was no chanting, no ritual of courage. He said, "They spoke softly, some even smiled." Irix frowned, his species prepared for war, with songs of defiance and shared fear. "One human noticed my confusion," Carvel continued. "He told me about a war on their homeworld, long before they reached the stars. The human spoke of cities, reduced to ash, of skies burning, brighter than suns. He said his people learned then that survival sometimes meant becoming monsters." Irix shifted uncomfortably. "Every species has dark times," he said. Carvel nodded slowly. "Yes, but humans remember theirs in detail. They do not hide from it." He described how the human soldier explained tactics born from desperation, how they learned to fight when outnumbered, starving, and cornered. They learned how to turn fear into focus. They learned how to keep fighting even after hope died. The human did not boast, Carvel emphasized. He spoke as if reciting an old scar. "When I asked why they still tell these stories," Carvel said, "the human answered that forgetting would make them dangerous." Irix felt a chill run through his scales. "Dangerous to whom?" he asked. "To everyone," Carvel replied. The veteran described how humans trained relentlessly, not to be brave, but to function when bravery failed. They assume fear will come. They plan for panic. They expect stuff to break. Irix struggled to understand. "Our doctrine teaches us to overcome fear." Carvel leaned closer. "Humans teach themselves what to do after fear wins." The hangar seemed colder now, the vast ship suddenly fragile, and that was only the first story, Carvel said quietly. Carvel's voice grew heavier as he continued. "The second story was about extinction." Irix's breath caught. The human spoke of a time when his species believed they might not survive. They faced enemies they could not outrun, outnumbered, and outmatched, so they changed. Carvel described how humans adapted with ruthless creativity. They weaponized their environment. They turned industry into war. They learned to sacrifice entire regions to stop their enemies. Irix recoiled. "Whole regions?" "Yes," Carvel said. "They calculated losses and accepted them. The human told me this without anger, only certainty." Carvel remembered asking how they lived with such choices. The human answered that living with it was the price of survival. Around them, distant alarms echoed faintly, reminders that the swarm still existed when humans believe extinction is possible. Carvel continued. "They stop asking what is acceptable. They ask only what works." Eric's felt his confidence cracking. But they are kind, he protested. They show mercy. Carvel nodded again. Yes, and that is what makes them terrifying. Because mercy is a choice for them, not a weakness. Carvel described how the human ended his story. He said they fight so no one ever forces them to become that again. Eric stared at the floor, imagining warriors who feared their own potential more than their enemies. And when the swarm attacked, Carvel said, "You saw how they fought." The memory of the battles surged between them. Carvel described how human units advanced into overwhelming fire without hesitation. They moved as if death was already accounted for. They covered our retreat while joking over their comes. Irix remembered it now. The impossible calm of the human soldiers. When their line broke, Carvel said, they did not flee. They reformed. They adapted. They kept going. One human had stayed behind to detonate a charge manually, ensuring the swarm advance. Cliff, he knew he would not return, Carvel said. He accepted it before the order was given. Irix swallowed hard. Our heroes seek glory, he said. Humans seek completion, Carvel replied. They finished the task. Carvel explained how the human stories had changed his understanding of the battle in real time. He was not fighting beside reckless allies. He was fighting beside survivors. Survivors who had inherited thousands of years of brutal lessons. The swarm was powerful, relentless, and cruel. But it had never faced a species that had already survived itself. Erix felt a strange mix of awe and fear. Awe. They unstoppable? He asked. Carvel considered this carefully. No, they are fragile. They know it, and that is why they plan for the worst. Asterix, the hangar lights brightened as the ship completed its jump. The war was far from over, but something fundamental had shifted for her. Carvel rose slowly, his armor creaking. I tell you these stories for the same reason the humans told me, he said, so you do not misunderstand them. Do not mistake their humor for softness. Do not mistake their mercy for weakness. Erix stood as well, offering a respectful bow. What should we do then? He asked. Carvel's eyes reflected the stars once more. Fight beside them, respect them, and never push them to believe extinction is the only answer. The veteran paused, then added softly, because if humanity decides there is no other choice, they will win, even if the galaxy does not survive the victory. Erix felt the truth of those words settle deep within him. As alarms sounded for the next engagement, he no longer felt simple excitement. He felt the weight of alliance. And somewhere aboard the ship, human soldiers prepared quietly, carrying their terrifying stories forward, ready to ensure they would never need to tell new ones.